This is Lighting the Void live, and man, I have no idea what's going on. I updated this software, and you know, every time you do an update, something crazy happens. So we'll see what happens. At least we're live on the radio station for sure. And then I apologize to the video folks out there. Every time this thing updates, it uses more and more and more PC, and I'm a poll boy. I got an old computer, man, so I'm trying to adjust things to get it to work correctly. So just bear with us tonight on the video side. On the radio side, though, thank you guys for joining in live on the Fringe FM, wherever you're live from. If you're live on TuneIn, TalkStream Live, the Paranormal Radio app. Got to keep it, man. We got to keep the radio stuff going. I got plans for the radio show. It's just working out the technical stuff and having to jump. So basically, I just got to jump like right off of work and jump on here. And then I should have, you know what, man? I should never. I'm just going to get to the point where I just don't update anything anymore. You know, like just forget it, man. Like don't even do it. It's not a good thing. So I wanted to get back into this text because I know we're limited on time tonight during the broadcast. And if you hear any glitches, just bear with me. It's a live thing. Could just be the signal interference, or it could be some CIA program, right? But someone asked in the chat about the artwork. I always give the artwork for Lighting the Void. We got quite a few T-shirts out there, Void Walkers wearing it, and I give all the credit to Eric TC, he also did the Shadow Light Tarot, one of my favorite people on the planet. So all the artwork goes to him. And he's talented for sure. He's a real talented guy. We've actually had him on the broadcast a few times. But so we're getting into this text called Dream Yoga, and we're on chapter 9. We left off last week. And this, to preface this is for research purposes only, so I don't get any copyright stuff. And then also it is commentated to between us in the chat, just like all the books that we do on here, because we're trying to figure stuff out. And this is a Gnostic text, and Gnosticism has always perplexed me. I've had a few people that claim to be Gnostics on the broadcast, but it seems like there's different sects of Gnosticism. You know, there's the Gnostics that believe in the demiurge. There's the Gnostics that pretty much focus on Tantra, which is, I would say, Samael and Vior's group. And then there's like I would say more of the Christian Gnostics who focus on like more of the hidden text or lost books of the Bible. It all kind of goes together. The word gnosis means to know, though. And so it's pretty cocky to go around saying that you know, right? That you know what's up with what's... I just know, and I've never claimed to be a Gnostic, though. And you guys, if you're probably going to get a better experience tonight on the radio station, so you can listen on fringe.fm. You can also listen at TalkStream Live, the Paranormal Radio app, tune in, all that. Just look up Fringe FM. You can also do it on the website too. There's plenty of pop-out players there. Until I get this setup I'm working on worked out, but you know me, man, like I just do it as I go, and we figure it out along the way. So he talks about the 4 blessings, and here we go. He says, in the previous chapter, we referred extensively to this initiator element of dreams. Obviously, we only lack the ability to use it. And so when the Gnostic has kept a record of his dreams, he unquestionably discovers a dream that reoccurs. And this should, I mean, if you get into this work, you'll have this happen to you quite a bit. You'll have a dream that keeps reoccurring, or a theme that keeps reoccurring in your dreams. And that reoccurring dream experience is the initiator element, he says, which wisely used leads us to the awakening of the consciousness. And every time we lie down and we go to sleep and meditate at will on the initiator element, which we talked about in the previous chapter, the result is immediate. And usually the anchorite relives such dreams consciously and is able to leave the scene at will, to travel in the suprasensible worlds. I don't know what that means. I think he's talking about leaving his dreams, though, which is something I've, been trying to work on, like get in the dream and then bounce out of it, right? Like that would be cool. That would be pretty cool. But most of the time, it's either I become lucid or I try to do the vibratory state out of body experience thing. But he says any dream can be used for such purposes when we actually know the technique. And whoever awakens from a dream can continue with it intentionally if desiring to do so. And in this case, he must go back to sleep and relive that dream experience with imagination. So we must not imagine that we are imagining. We have to look at the imagination as something like totally different, something, and this is me talking, something that's not fake. It's not described as, oh, it's just your imagination. I can't think of a word for it, but we have to look at our imagination as our powering tool, like it's the most powerful thing we have. And fundamentally, we should relive the dream in its full and crude reality. Repeating the dream intentionally is the first step towards the awakening of the consciousness. And if you think about it, everyday life that you live here in your waking state, in your physical body, in this place, is a lot of times a reoccurring dream. So the voluntary separation from the dream in plain action is the second step. So we want to separate from the dream. And some aspirants take the first step, but they lack the strength to take the second one. And such people can and should help themselves by means of the technique of meditation. And so I'm hoping that he's going to get into that here. All right. So by making serious decisions, those devotees will practice meditation before you go to sleep. And the motive of concentration and reflection in their inner and deep meditation will be, in this case, their inner situation. So in this practice, the mystic in sorrow, feeling sincere emotion, will invoke his divine mother. And there's different names. I think he has Tananatan or Divai Kundalini for a name for the divine mother. Shedding tears of pain, the ascetic Gnostic will lament his state of unconsciousness and will implore for help, beseeching his divine mother for strength to detach himself at will from any dream. I've never tried this, by the way. This goal, this dream discipline seeks, or this dream discipline seeks, is to prepare the disciple to clearly recognize the 4 blessings. And he has 4 blessings outlined. And this will manifest in the dream experience. So the esoteric discipline is certainly only for very serious people. You know, one thing I'll say about this Samael guy, remember this too, he also claims to be the angel Samael in human form. So all of these books that you read, all of his followers believe, I would say 90% of them at least, believe that he is the angel in human form, Samael. Don't forget that. And so, this is why, like in a lot of his texts, you'll hear him talk about how important things are, almost as if he's talking to you like you're a child, in a sense. It's not really rude, but it's kind of condescending a little bit. So if this is only, he says, this is only for serious people, for it demands infinite patience and enormous inner super efforts. A lot has been said in the Orient about the 4 lights of the dream state. So let us take a look at it. The first one is called the revealing light, and it is written in gold letters in the book of life that this is perceived just before or during the first hours of sleep. Speaking frankly and to the point, let us point out that as sleep becomes deeper, the undesirable melding of residual impressions and the usual train of discriminatory thoughts fortunately dissolve slowly. In this stage of sleep, the second illumination progressively shows, and this is known in Asia by the marvelous name of increasing light. So you have revealing light and then increasing light. And the ascetic Gnostic, by means of the extraordinary tantric dream discipline, gets beyond this stage and apprehends the 2 remaining lights. The full experience of the crude reality of practical life in the superior worlds of cosmic consciousness grants the 3rd light, the immediate realization. And then the 4th light is that of the inner profound illumination, and it comes to us as if by enchantment in plain mystical experience. So you have the revealing light, the increasing light, the immediate realization, and the inner profound illumination. So here in the 4th degree of the void dwells the child of the clear mother light, states a Tibetan treatise. And frankly speaking, I assert that the tantric dream discipline is in fact an esoteric preparation for that final dream that we call death. That's pretty intense, right? So he calls the inner profound illumination the fourth degree in the void. And here dwells the child of the clear mother light. Now, just for the sake of this broadcast and for the sake of my memory, I'll tell you that I can put this stuff together. All right? Yeah, it's Samael on Weor, W-E-O-R. So there is another, so let me give you an example before we move on in this chapter of two people that don't know each other, don't study the same things, are exploring consciousness, but are talking about the same things. Now, there's a book out there called Journey of Souls. I don't know if you've ever read it or listened to it, but it has thousands of people in this book. This hypnotist, Michael Newton, Dr. Michael Newton, he would take people under in hypnosis and a deep trance state, and he would try to get them to remember what their lives were like between lives. Not just in the NDE experience, but where did they go after they die and before they were born? And a lot of them would say the same things. But long story short, he had this one client in the book, and I remember this specifically. He was pushing the client out to the edges of reality. And the client was telling him, look, I can't go any further. He's almost like between that state of dead and alive, some reality state. And he kept making him go further. And he said, keep going, keep going. And he says, I can't. I'm going out to the edges of existence. It's hard. And he's pushing him in the hypnosis session. Keep going. And then the guy says, what do you hear? He says, I hear singing. And he goes, you hear singing? And he goes, push a little further, just a little further. And he's like, I can't. And then the client realizes, and he said, the client that was laying on the couch started crying and realized that it was a mother. He said, it's a mother. So at the very edges in this guy's hypnosis session, in between lives, at the edges of reality, between that veil state of life and death, or I guess you could say the second death of consciousness, to be reborn again into whatever you're going to be next time, this client said he heard a mother, like he heard a woman singing, and it was a mother. So there's several other instances of this discussion, that people talking about the divine mother or this kind of energy. But what I'm saying is here's two people, again, not talking about the same thing, exploring consciousness differently, one in the dream state, one in hypnosis and trance. And at the edges of reality, in the deepest spaces of the void, both of these people are saying that there is a divine mother. Just think about that. It could mean many things. What the divine mother actually is it a woman? Is it a feminine force? Who knows? Is he hearing the singing of his mother that he's about to be born into? Like, who knows? But Samael's talking about the divine mother Kundalini, or just the divine mother. I guess in Thelema they would call it Nuit. The deep empty space that is the thing that consumes all of life and also gives birth to it. So here in the fourth degree of the void dwells the child of the clear mother light, and this was also stated in a Tibetan treatise. And he says, frankly speaking, I assert that the tantric dream discipline is in fact an esoteric preparation for that final dream that we call death. Having, quote, died many times at night, the anchorite Gnostic who has consciously apprehended the four blessings that present themselves in the dreaming experience passes to the post-mortem state when he dies with the same ease that he willingly gets into the world of dreams. Outside his physical body, the Gnostic can consciously verify for himself the fate reserved to the souls beyond death. If every night, by means of the tantric dream discipline, the esotericist can consciously die and penetrate into the world of the dead, he will then be able as well to, quote, study the ritual of life and death while the efficient arrives. I have no idea what that means, but it's in quotation. Study the ritual of life and death while the efficient arrives. And after he visited the infernos, where he saw in horror the fate of the lost souls, Hermes became acquainted with the unknown facts. in quotes. Watch to the side, Osiris tells Hermes. Do you see that hive of souls who try to climb up the lunar region? Do you see, that's a trippy thing. Do you see that hive of souls who try to climb up to the lunar region? Some are rushed down to the ground, just like flocks of birds under the blows of a storm. The other ones, with the strokes of their wings, reach the superior sphere, which pulls them on its rotation. And once they reach there, they recover the sight of divine things. And when burying those chosen by the Tlaloc, the rain god, the Aztecs placed a dried branch nearby as well. Another example of this that makes me think about some of the things that we've talked about in the broadcast, some kind of corresponding things, is Carl Jung's journeying into the void himself when he was doing a journeying session. And also said, if you guys have listened to the show for years, you might remember when we read this, but he also said that he felt that as if he was being pulled by some kind of lunar ocean, that he was, again, two people that never talk to each other, but like he was in this ocean of souls or whatever, and it had something to do with the tides of the moon, and that he couldn't get out of it. He was helpless. And he remembers this like helpless feeling where you just have to wait and see what happens. It makes you think about what the moon's really there for, right? Is it there to keep our consciousness here in some kind of sense? It was said that when the Blessed One reached the field of delights, or that Talocan, the dried branch turned green again, indicating in this way the return to a new life. And those who have not been chosen by the sun or the Tlaloc fatally go to Mictlan, which is the north, or a region where the souls undergo a series of magic trials on passing through the infernal worlds. So that's an old Aztec, I guess, belief. There are 9 places where the souls suffer unbearably before reaching the final rest. There's that number 9 again in a whole different text, right? This reminds us in an empathetic way of the 9 infernal circles of Dante and Dante's Divine Comedy. Many are the gods and goddesses who populate the 9 Dantean circles of the Aztec Inferno as well. And let us remember the frightful, and this is a messed up word, but it's called Mictlantecuhtli. I'll just say Mictlantecuhtli. The Tenebris Mictlantecuhtli, the Lord of Lady of the Infernos, respectively, inhabitants of the 9th and deepest underground of those places. The souls who undergo the trials of the Aztec Inferno later, after the second death, enter joyfully the paradise of the elements of nature. So here's like an Aztecian kind of, I guess you could say, Aztecian story, because we don't know if it's real. But the symbols have the number 9 in it, and it also has, again, a deep mother that they have to go through. But this is more of a scary one. The souls who undergo the trials of the Aztec Inferno later, after the second death, enter the joyfully into the paradise of the elements of nature. And unquestionably, those souls who neither descend to the infernal worlds after death, nor ascend to the kingdom of the golden light, or to Tlaloc's paradise, or the kingdom of eternal concentration, etc., whatever you want to call it, will come back or return sooner or later to a new physical body. The souls chosen by the sun rejoice much in the superior worlds before returning to this vale of samsara. So the anchorite Gnostics, after having grasped the 4 lights of dreams, can consciously visit this place every night, or go down to the Mictlan, or contact these souls who, before returning, still live in the lunar region. I don't know about you, man, but if that's true, like, I don't really want to go and check and talk to those people. I mean, is he talking about the same places that these same kind of states of consciousness that Monroe ran into, and he ran into people that have passed away, or William Buellman, or any other people that have ran into people that's passed away? Again, the 4 blessings, or the 4 places, are revealing light, increasing light, immediate realization, and then inner profound illumination. It seems like there's some kind of mother energy there for your death and rebirth, or second death and then rebirth. I always wondered what, even the Bible talks about the second death, right? Like what that actually means. And I think it really corresponds to like your consciousness, right? Let me see if I can find this picture. Here we go. This is the picture he has up for the next chapter. So it shows the 9 heavens, the physical world, and then the 9 hells below. And in Hermetic Kabbalism, those 9 hells below would be called the Qliphoth. It's pretty much the same teaching. You have the 9 Sephirot above the earth, and you have the 9 below, and then this would be pretty much like Middle Earth, this where we live now, the in-between, which would make a lot of sense because everything's relative here. It's all one thing, but there are these 2 energies that are kind of blending together. So it would make sense, I guess, that this exists. All right, so chapter 10, the guardian angel. Now, the first educator of any great initiate by its own right, the fundamental cause of all spiritual parts of his authentic presence. Any grateful guru humbly prostrates before the first creator who gave him life. After many conscious works and voluntary sufferings, the absolute perfection achieved and the functioning of all spiritual, isolated parts of our common presence is revealed before our tearful eyes. Then the being's impulse of gratitude towards the first educator is born in us. Unquestionably, the absolute perfection of each and every isolated part of the being can be achieved only by radically dying in ourselves here and now. There are various stages of inner self-realization. All right, so we're going to get into this kind of shadow work thing here. It's funny, he's using the tree of life too. Some initiates have achieved perfection in some isolated parts of their being, but they still have much work to do before reaching the absolute perfection of all their parts. It would be in no way possible to portray the being. It resembles an army of innocent children. Each of them performs specific tasks, and the greatest longing of all initiates is to unify all parts of their being. When one achieves the inner self-realization of the highest part of one's being, one receives the grade, and he calls it Ishmesh. Our Lord, or his Lord, our Lord Quetzalcoatl, the Mexican Christ, undoubtedly developed the highest part of his own being. It should be noted that Quetzalcoatl, or he calls not Quetzalcoatl, but Zolotl, spelled with an X, the Nahua Lucifer, is also one of our being's isolated parts. The elemental gods of nature, such as Huehuetlacatl, Taluk, Ecatl, and Chacalutitlan. I can't pronounce these words. I think these are Aztec words. I apologize. Etc. All these gods, Genevieve, Zaquetzcoatl, the goddess of flowers, etc. They assist the initiate in his elemental magic operations, provided that there is correct behavior. And nevertheless, we should not forget our elemental intercessor, the elemental magician in each of us who can invoke the elemental gods of nature and perform prodigies. This is unquestionably another one of the being's isolated parts. So I'm getting the impression here that he's kind of talking about the same thing that the Golden Dawn teaches, except it's a little bit more Renaissance Western version. But this he's kind of talking about the same things. So you work with the elements of nature, and then eventually you invoke these gods into your being, and they help you become enlightened into your authentic self. The 3 goddesses in the Aztec pantheon that represent the Divine Mother, who are actually only 3 unfoldings of the same divinity, or variations or offshoots of our own being, are Tenochtitlan, Coatlicue, and Sazolotl. I'd love to hear him pronounce these words. Our own being has many isolated parts, though, and we are amazed when we behold the Lion of the Law, the 2 genii who take note of our God and bad deeds, the karmic police, or a part of our being as well, the all-merciful, the compassionate one, our united Father and Mother, and the guardian angel. All of these are parts of our being. The flaming powers of the guardian angel are truly extraordinary, marvelous, and extremely divine. I know what the guardian angel is from purely Gnostic sources, secretly kept in monasteries of initiation. These bear no resemblance to common pseudo-Christianity and pseudo-occultism that are accessible to the general public. On reaching the very mysterious field of the history and life of the jinns, we have discovered not only the Chapultepec Temple in Mexico, Chapultepec Temple in Mexico, and the people from the fourth vertical. I'm lost too with you. Don't worry. A lot of this stuff is, it's a lot. But also, to our amazement, the power of the guardian angel and his relationship with all of this. So let us never forget Padre Prado and Bernal Diaz del Castillo, who together observed with delight an Anuak priest in jinn states. Now see, I thought that the jinn were from the Middle East, though. I thought that was purely Middle Eastern spirits. I have to dig into this a little further, though. The anchorites floated delightfully through the air and went from Cholula to the Templo Mayor, and this happened every day at sunset. Never in their nocturnal walks did the Sais disciples in the delta of the Nile, or Zarustra's followers in the Persian plateau, or those who meditated in Bellows Tower in Babylonia have more majestic horizons than the ones that are observed by those who seriously preserve in tantric dream discipline. Outside his physical body, the Gnostic anchorite can consciously, if he wills it, invoke an isolated part of his own being, which is defined in practical esotericism as the guardian angel. Unquestionably, the ineffable will heed his call. Transparent serenity, limitless calm, or ecstatic happiness, like that which is experienced by the soul when breaking the bonds of matter and the world, is what we feel in such delightful moments. You can then, dear reader, deduce the outcome. Magical services, La Horigrin or Richard Wagner's opera, can always be received. Tell me a little bit about theurgy. Let me see if I got the picture that he's showing here for the guardian angel. If in such rapturous moments we ask the guardian angel the favor of removing our body, which is sleeping in bed where we left it, and bringing it to us, the magical phenomenon will take place successfully. We can sense that the physical body is on its way, brought by the guardian angel, when we feel a strange pressure on our psychic or astral shoulders. If we assume a receptive, open, and quiet attitude, the physical body will penetrate our interior. The tantric Gnostic, instead of returning to his physical body, consciously waits for it to come to him in order to travel to the promised land in the fourth coordinate. Later, with the help of the guardian angel, the Gnostic can safely go back home to bed. The venerable masters of the occult fraternity travel with their physical bodies in the fourth vertical and can leave the fourth vertical at any point they wish. This means that the resurrected masters of the superior order have the luxury of transporting themselves without modern transportation systems, boats, airplanes, or cars, or not a trivial matter. Isn't it interesting? Still, another thing, like all this stuff talked about by out-of-body travelers that have nothing to do with any of these religions or occult or spiritual things. Yeah, it is pretty powerful how much stuff these symbols and energies mean, and yet they're experiencing the same things, right? What did Monroe end up coming in contact with? His higher self, which was really him, in a higher form, in a different timeline even, who was assisting him the entire time. In ancient times, the use of criticism, analogy, and symbology were the living core of the Alexandrian school of the Philaetans, or truth lovers, a 6th century academy of synthesis founded by Ammonio Saccas, the great autodidact, and eclectic, and Plotinus, Plato's follower. And throughout the centuries, the great initiate value of these procedures and the doctrinal principles of Egypt, Mexico, Peru, China, Tibet, Persia, and India helped many initiates orient themselves in the path of the razor's edge. Ammoniosakis and Androgelia is remarkable. It is an excellent golden book. I'll have to check that out. I don't think I ever read that. It's called Androgelia with a G. Androgelia, probably. Or Androgelia, maybe. Anyway, self-aggrandizement is the biggest error that many modern pseudo-esotericists and pseudo-occultists have. They love themselves so much, and they yearn for the evolution of the misery they carry within. They want to move on and long for the extension of that which in no way deserves their perfection or perpetuation. That sounds like the same thing a certain guest that came on a few broadcasts ago said, but in a much simpler way. Those people with subjective psyches believe themselves to be rich, powerful, and illuminated. They covet a splendid position in the beyond, but in reality they know nothing about themselves. Nothing. Lamentably, they are ignorant of their own impotence, nothingness, a shamelessness, misadventures, and psychological misery and nakedness. The Gnostics, we Gnostics, do not yearn to be better or worse. We only want to die in ourselves here and now. When we have the dogma of, quote, evolution as the foundation of our most cherished yearnings, our point of departure is false. We, the penitents of the rocky path that leads to final liberation, are not interested in evolution. We know we are miserable and crippled, and our own evolution would be useless. We prefer supreme death. Only death brings forth what is new. Why should we struggle for the evolution and progression of our own misfortune? It's better to die. If the seed does not die, the plant cannot sprout. And when death is absolute, that which will be born will also be absolute. Total annihilation of the self, the radical dissolution of the most loved which we carry within, the final disintegration of our best desires, thoughts, feelings, passions, resentments, our sorrows, emotions, yearnings, hatred, likings, jealousy, revenge, anger, affections, attachments, passions, lust, is urgent and undelayable. It cannot be postponed. In this way, the being's flame, which is always new and does not belong to time, can come forth. The conception we have of the being is not the being. Any intellectual concept that we have created about the being or our being is not the being. Our opinion of the being is not the being. The being is the being, and the reason for the being is to be itself, himself, or herself. Fear of absolute death is an obstacle to the realization of radical change. Each of us has a mistaken creation in our interior. It is essential to destroy what is false so that a new creation can come forth. We would never try to promote the evolution of falseness. We prefer Buddhist annihilation. From the black and horrifying sepulchral grave of the abyss arise the diverse flaming parts of the being. The guardian angel is one of those many isolated parts. Those who really know the mysteries of the temples, which are a marvelous reflection of Bacchian, Eleusinian, and Pythagorean mysteries, by no means wish to carry on their inner misery. We ought to return to the original point of departure. We must go back to the primitive darkness of the not being and chaos, so that the light can be born and a new creation can come forth in our interior. So instead of fearing total annihilation, we should learn how to love and fall into the arms of our blessed goddess mother, Death. Guess who that is? That's a pretty trippy thought. Remember Indiana Jones? Kalima. Remember when they were worshiping that and he was pulling people's hearts out in that movie? And they put that dude in the thing and burned him, and he's sitting there praying the whole time. Om Nam Shivaya, Om Nam Shivaya. Yeah. It's a movie. I'm not laughing at the guy dying, but it's funny because I love Indiana Jones. Okay, so he's got a picture of, I guess, Kali right here, which is pretty. It's a pretty cool picture, actually. Kali, a Hindu symbol of the Divine Mother, who, due to love, is capable of bringing death and destruction when is needed. You know what sphere on the Sephiroth that represents, too, I hope by now. That's Bina. Speaking of which, let me see if this next picture we're going to pull up here. Chapter 11, Hod, which is the 8th sphere. He says, Hod, H-O-D, is the astral world, the astral body. The astral world is governed by the moon. This is why astral projections become easier during the waxing moon and a little bit more arduous during the waning moon. The astral plane is really the plane of practical magic. For example, in some of the tribes of the most profound jungles of the Amazons, the Piakis, or sorcerer priests, give unto their people a special beverage in order to enter into the astral plane at will. They mix the ashes of a tree called guarumo with very well-ground leaves of coca, and this is administered when the moon is crescent. Thus, this is how the astral projection is performed. The Piakis, or Piachis, however you want to pronounce it, know very well that Hod, the astral world, is governed by the moon, but many Kabbalists suppose that it is governed by Mercury, and they are mistaken. So in this teaching, he's saying it's governed by the moon, and the Golden Dawn teachings, they say it's governed by Mercury. The messages that descend from the world of the pure spirit become symbolic in the astral plane, and those symbols are interpreted based on the law of philosophical analogies, on the law of analogous contraries, on the law of correspondence, and on the law of numerology. The book of Daniel and the biblical passages of the patriarch Joseph, son of Jacob, must be studied in order to learn how to interpret your astral experiences. You guys want to hear a crazy synchronicity? My name is Joseph Daniel. The legitimate and authentic astral body is the solar astral body, or Tifereth, right? The body of desires, which is a lunar nature, has been mistakenly called the astral body. But all of the creatures of nature are lunar. They possess a lunar astral body, which is a cold protoplasmic body, a bestial remnant of the past. What we need is to build the authentic body of Hod, the legitimate astral body, which is a vehicle of solar nature. And this must be built in the 9th sphere by working in the flaming forge of Vulcan. The solar astral body is a body of flesh and bone that does not come from Adam. It is a body that eats, digests, and assimilates. Really? These are diverse authors of pseudo-esotericists and pseudo-occultist type that fall into the error of mistaking the ego with the astral body. Modern metaphysical literature speaks a lot about projections of the astral body, although we must have the courage to recognize that fans of occultism are accustomed to projecting themselves with their ego in order to travel in the sublunar regions of nature through time and space. We can travel through the Milky Way towards the central sun Sirius with the solar astral body. To go beyond the Milky Way is forbidden unto us because in other galaxies, other types of cosmic laws exist which are unknown to the inhabitants of this galaxy. There is a great temple in Sirius where the great masters of this galaxy receive an initiation. You know what I find? I really find all this fascinating because there's so many damn things that the different teachers of different systems are kind of saying the same thing, but they all have something that they disagree on, which kind of trips us up, doesn't it? There's a great temple in Sirius where the great masters of his galaxy receive an initiation, and the disciples of the god Sirius are Rosicrucian Gnostics, the true Rosy Cross in the superior worlds. The disciples of the Rosy Cross have the Holy Grail emblazoned on their hoods. They also celebrate the drama of the Christ because it is a cosmic drama. Our disciples must acquire the power of traveling with the astral body. The power is acquired by daily vocalizing for an hour the sacred mantra, Egypto. Egypto. The vowel E sound Egypto. Makes the thyroid gland vibrate and grants unto the person the power of the occult ear. The G, as in good, awakens the chakra of the liver, and when this chakra has reached its complete development, the person can enter and depart from the physical body whenever it wishes. The I sounds like E when combined with the letter P, develops clairvoyance and the power to leave in the astral body through the window of Brahma, which is the pineal gland. The letter I beats upon the vowel O, which is intimately related with the chakra of the heart. Thus, the human body can acquire the power in order to detach from his plexus and depart in the astral body. The pronunciation of the mantra Egypto is like this. I'm just going to paste it in the chat because it's crazy. I'm not saying that. What if I say it and I take off? Oh, it won't let me paste it. Okay. So it's like Egypto, but it's like I think he says it's right? Egypto. But he really elongates the whole thing. Still, some still do not attain the capacity of departing in the astral body with other clues because they do not have the power. Then they must acquire this power, firstly, by vocalizing for 1 hour daily this mantra. And this mantra completely develops the chakras related with the projection of the astral body. And this is how the disciple acquires the power of astral projection. And the disciple could then enter and leave the body at will. The Egyptian mantra that is utilized in order to depart in the astral body is the following. You remember this one from the other book? Pharaon. This mantra is vocalized in those instances of transition between vigil, or your physical body, and dreams, having the mind placed in the pyramids of Egypt. Focus on the pyramids. And the correct pronunciation of the mantra is Pharaon. The mantra is used in order to depart in the astral body, and as we have already stated, it is pronounced during the state of transition between physical, vigil, he says, but it's your physical waking state, and dream, with the mind concentrated on the pyramids of Egypt. Nonetheless, the disciples that do not have the power of departing with the astral body must first acquire it by vocalizing daily this mantra for 1 hour. The mantra Egypto. This just seems like a lot of work, doesn't it? It sure does. But there might be something to it. Chapter 12, the science of meditation. Let's talk about the science of meditation, but first we should prepare ourselves in a positive manner in order to receive this type of superior teaching, to take advantage of time. This is the moment for us to understand the need of giving more opportunity to our consciousness. Normally, we live on different levels of our interior temple, and there are people who always live in the lower levels. Those are the ones that are concentrated exclusively in instinct and fornication. The fourth and fifth levels, instinctive and sexual centers, respectively, that is, these levels that have been used in a negative way. What did Monroe see when he traveled in the astral realm? He saw these bodies all intertwined together like a slimy worm. They were all just vamped. This energy had taken complete control of them. You remember that gross thing he said he saw in the astral realm? Do you think he ever even knew about Samael Avior? Pretty interesting. Others live on the third level, the motor center, and never leave it. They always move following the patterns of predetermined customs along the line of certain habits. They never change. They are like a train that always runs over the same tracks. These third level type of people are so accustomed to their train of habits that they are not ready to surrender them. Others live on the first level, the intellectual center. Others on the second level, the negative emotions. And those who live in the intellectual center want to turn everything into a rationalization. They analyze everything. They want to understand the formula, analysis, the concepts, or argue everything to death. And they never leave that place, ever. Others live in the emotional center, dedicated to the vices of movies, racetracks, bullfights, music, etc. In reality, a very limited and narrow world as well. They live enclosed and enslaved by negative emotions most of the time, never thinking of escaping from such a place. It is necessary to insist upon giving opportunity to our consciousness. There are different types of dreams, intellectual and emotional dreams. Others that belong to the motor center or sexual center, or others that are exclusively related to sexual activities. And these types of dreams always reflect situations lived during the day, the repetitions of daily activities. If people live on the emotional levels, their dreams will reflect situations of terror or craziness. If they live on the sexual level, their dreams will be of lust, adultery, fornication, masturbation, etc. If the dreams belong to the instinctive center, they become incoherent, so submerged that it's impossible to even understand their dreams. But each of these 5 centers of the human machine produces certain types of dreams, and truly, we have to say that only the dreams that belong to the superior emotional center, the 7th level, are the ones to which we must give attention. The same can be applied to the positive aspect of the 6th center, the superior mental center. Dreams from any of the inferior centers, the instinctive, motor, sexual, emotional, or intellectual, do not have any importance. We need to be able to distinguish from which center the dream is coming. This is only possible by knowing the activities of each of the 5 centers of the human machine. Dreams from the superior emotional center are the most important because in them we find perfect, organized dramas in accordance with the daily activities of our consciousness, if we give it the opportunity to work, that is. What happens is that the ray of creation from which we emanated constructs everything from the superior emotional center. It is from there that diverse superior parts of our being related with the ray of creation are manifested through this center in order to instruct us during our hours of sleep. Then, well-organized, clear, and precise scenes are presented to us so we will be able to understand our situation, our errors and defects, etc. Of course, the language of the superior emotional center is symbolic, allegoric, and corresponds to the Hermetic Kabbalah, to Hermetics, etc. Unquestionably, it is through the center that any person dedicated to esoteric studies can receive correct and precise information. Now, we have taught you to sleep on your back with your head towards the north, relaxing the body and praying or supplicating to the Divine Mother Kundalini to give you esoteric instructions. We also taught you the need to lie down on your right side in the lion posture. But when you tire of the right side, you can switch to the left side, keeping the lion posture. And once the disciple wakes up, he should not move, but should try to do the retrospective exercise in order to remember all the dream experiences until they are imprinted and registered clearly in his brain and memory. But I want to clarify that not all dreams are important. For example, pornographic sexual dreams, erotic dreams with nocturnal emissions are dreams of an inferior nature. Nocturnal emissions, is that what I think it is? Also, instinctive motor dreams do not have importance because they're only reflections of one's daily activities. Dreams that are related to your lower emotional center do not have importance because they are of a passionate, brutal type. Intellectual dreams are only projections and are also of no value at all. I repeat, only those related to the higher emotional center should be considered. But in addition, we need to understand the meaning of our dreams in order to avoid mistakes. So it's necessary to interpret the allegoric messages received through the superior emotional center because those are the teachings coming from the white brotherhood or from the superior part of our being. This makes us see the urgent necessity of understanding the profound meaning of all symbolism, which should be deciphered in a very precise way in accordance to our development. After all clarification in relation to dreams, I should tell you that we urgently need to pass through the dream or astral world to become awake in the inner superior worlds. This is possible only when we give greater opportunities to our consciousness. Now, normally people act and react in response to the impacts coming from the outer world. Compare this to the example of a lake in which we throw a stone. We see how the stone produces rings that spread from the center to the edge of the lake. This is the reaction of the water to the impact coming from the stone, or external world. Something similar happens to the mind and feelings. If someone hurts us with words, the impact of the word reaches the intellectual center or the thought center, and then the person reacts in a violent way. If someone offends our senses, we feel annoyed and possibly react in a brutal way. In every circumstance of life, the mind, what is that? In every circumstance of life, the mind and feelings take an active part, reacting consecutively in response to the external stimulus. A better response would be not to give any opportunity to the mind or feelings. It is urgent to develop a tranquil, quiet mind. This, of course, is not easy. And this, of course, brothers, what is he saying? This, of course, brothers, the mentalists everywhere. His English is a little messed up, but I guess he's talking about the the people that are always mentalizing everything. So the idea of a quiet mind is opposed to all those who say that in the mind is the power, and that man must be a king who commands and dominates with his powerful mind. They are sophisms of the mentalists, like those who say, he who learns to manage his mind is sure to triumph like the arrow of the old archer. Finally, at the very end, they are nothing more than sophisms extracted from the intellectual fantasies which have no esoteric form. To negate thinking, this horrifies the mind positivists, scares them, but nevertheless, the negated form of the mind is the most eloquent. Not thinking is the most elevated way of thinking. When the thinking process of the mind is over, the new way arrives, and this is what you need to understand. A calm mind that is at the service of one's real being results in an efficient instrument, because the mind is made to be receptive, to serve as a receptive instrument, not as an active instrument. The mind itself is feminine, and all the centers should work harmoniously in accordance with the universal symphony of passive serenity. In these conditions, we should not permit the mind to project. We need a tranquil mind to put to the service of the different circumstances of our existence. Until a short time ago, I myself thought that emotions or sentiments came from the real being. But with investigation and experience, I have come to verify that they pertain to the ego and that they are intimately related to the inferior emotional center. The therapy we need to know profoundly in order to avoid any interior unbalance that can cause outer repercussions is that which will not permit the mind any kind of reaction. If someone hurts us, we must not permit the mind to react. Wish that there will always be someone who can hurt us in our feelings daily, so that we can, in that way, train our mind to better, and to better it, and to better it to be passive. The more insults that we receive, the better for our training, because we will have more opportunities to stop the reaction of the mind and feelings so that they do not intervene in any circumstance of our lives. Of course, the passive state of the mind, emotions, and personality demands a tremendous activity in the consciousness, and this shows us that the more active the consciousness, the better for the reaching it is in awakening, because that way the consciousness has to inevitably awaken. It has no choice, being in perpetual activity. So just now, Buddha came to my mind. Or a certain occasion, the great Buddha was sitting under a tree in profound meditation when a man arrived and began to insult the Buddha, trying to hurt him with his words. Shakyamuni Buddha. Is this the Buddha picture that I have here? Yeah, it is. Okay. After a while, the Buddha opened his eyes and asked the man, "If someone brings you a gift and you do not accept the gift, to whom does this gift belong?" The man answered, "To the one who brought it, of course." Then Buddha said, "My brother, take your gift. I cannot accept it," and continued to meditate. There is a beautiful, sublime lesson here. Buddha did not permit his mind or sentiments to react under any circumstance because he was living fully awakened in his consciousness. There was no other reaction or no outer reaction. That is the way we should behave, dear disciples. The school is everywhere. We have to take advantage of it and learn wisely. We have it in our houses, our offices, the shops, factories, the street, everywhere. And even now the internet, but even in the temple with our fellow students, our children, our father, wives, nephews, grandsons, cousins, friends, etc. All our psychological gymnasiums. And as hard as it will be, as difficult as it looks to us, it is indispensable for all of us. The secret is not to allow our mind and feelings to intervene in the practical daily activities of our lives. We should allow the consciousness to be the one who commands, directs, and works, the one who talks and executes all one's daily activities. And that way, we prepare harmoniously for meditation. From the practical point of meditation, we must say that what we are looking for goes beyond mind and feelings. This is only possible if in our practical daily life we have trained ourselves intensively and prepared ourselves in our daily lives for this wonderful goal. Meditation becomes difficult when in our daily life we have not passed through a rigorous training, when we have not trained properly in the psychological gymnasium of our life, using social and family life as a training field. During meditation, we should release the essence, the buddhata, the best inside of us, the most dignified and decent. Precisely the essence of buddhata is enclosed with the inhuman elements of psychological aggregates that constitute the I or ego. It's not possible to experience reality or truth, that which interests all of us, unless we free the essence, which is trapped in the ego. If we do not, we will have to continue to live on in a world of dreams that we live in now. In the intellectual center or emotional center, the motor center, instinctive or sexual centers. We want to be able to escape the experience. We want to be able to escape and to experience only truth. The great Kabir Jesus said, "Know the truth and it will make you free." But truth is not a question of theories. It's not a question of believing or not believing something. It's not a matter of concepts or opinions. Can you form opinions in relationship to truth? What is an opinion? It is the projection of a concept, keeping the doubt and fear that truth is another thing. What is a concept? Simply an elaborated reasoning projected by the mind. It can coincide or not coincide with something. So can we assume that a concept or an opinion given out by the intellect would be precisely the truth? No, we can't. What is an idea? An idea can be magnificent. For example, we can form an idea in relation to the sun, such an idea could be more or less exact or more or less mistaken, but they're not the sun. That way also we could form multiple ideas in relation to the truth, but they are not the truth. When Jesus Christ was asked, "What is truth?" he kept silent. When the Buddha received the same question, he turned back and walked away. Truth cannot be defined by words. The same with a sunset. Anyone can go into ecstasy while watching the sun beginning to hide behind the golden splendor of the mountains, but trying to communicate to others this mystical experience is very difficult because others will not feel the same. So truth cannot be communicated. Truth is real for the one who has the experience. When freed of the ego, we can experience truth. We can perceive a radical transforming element within us, a high voltage element. And this is possible, but we have to know how to get it by putting to work our consciousness to replace mind and feeling so that the integrated consciousness in us will be the one to function. So we must have a passive mind, a passive feeling, and a passive personality, but have a totally active consciousness. And to understand this is indispensable. It is urgent if we are to become practical meditators. So, speaking of meditation, with the technique of meditation, what we are looking for is information. With a microscope, we can see the life of microbes, bacteria, cells, microorganisms, etc. And any telescope can give us information about the stars and the celestial bodies, planets, meteorites, etc. But meditation goes beyond and would permit us to know the truth from something so small to something as grand as the sun, the truth of an atom or even a constellation. The most important thing is to learn to know how we can disentangle, take out our consciousness from our mind and ego, to know how to extract the consciousness from within the feelings. When we dominate the mind and feeling, obviously we are breaking chains. We are coming out of that deadly dungeon, out of that jail. And in this way, we are preparing ourselves for meditation. So before anything, we have to know how to meditate. We have to learn the correct technique. In the Oriental world, they put a lot of emphasis on the Padmasana position with the legs crossed. But we're not Orientals and should meditate in accordance with our own customs and style. And as a matter of fact, not all Orientals meditate with their legs crossed. What is important is that each person should adopt the position best for them. If you want to meditate with your legs crossed, do it. We're not going to prohibit this, but this is not the only practical position for meditation. For a correct meditation, we can take a seat in a comfortable chair with arms and legs relaxed without tension in our muscles. Or if you wish, you can lie down and take the position of a five-pointed star, hands and legs open to each side, with one's head towards the north. Remember, you can take any form or position you like, or whatever's the most comfortable for you. If in reality we want to separate our consciousness from our mind, feelings, and the psychological I, it does not matter which position we take. The important thing is to know how to meditate. Do not worry about other things. One person may take an Oriental position, another an Occidental one, another whatever position he wants. The important thing, I'm repeating, is to be comfortable so you can have a good meditation. Everyone's unique and should look for the most comfortable position without being held by any rules or patterns or positions. It's very convenient to relax the body. It's indispensable. You need to be relaxed, basically, is what he's saying, so that your body feels good. Many times I've explained to all of you how to work with the mantra Ham Sa, pronounced Ham silently with inhalation, and Sa vocalized aloud with like a soft sigh. And this mantra is wonderful. It's a wonderful symbol that in the Orient makes fertile the chaotic water of life, the symbol of the third logos. It is very important to know how to vocalize this mantra and to know about its powers. Normally, sexual forces flow from inside out, centrifugal way. Due to that, wet dreams occur when having a dream based on the sexual center. If man would organize his vital systems and instead of propitiating the centrifugal system, which we'll use centripetal system, that means we're going to use the centripetal system. That means to make the sexual forces run from outside in, making use of transmutation. Then even if he had an erotic dream, there would be no wet dreams. I know it's pretty graphic, but because man does not have his sexual forces organized, he will have wet dreams and the loss of the sacred sperm or spermatic liquor. If we want to avoid wet dreams, we have to learn to organize our sexual forces. This is like the Tantra teachings he's talking about here. So these forces are profoundly related to breath, to prana, to life, and that's obvious. But there is a close and deep relation between sexual forces and breathing. Both, well combined and harmonized, originate profound changes on the anatomy and the psychology of a man. What's important is to make the sexual forces run within and upward on a centripetal course. Only in that way it is possible to produce a radical change in the work and functions that can be accomplished by the creative sexual force. So it's necessary to imagine the creative energy and action during meditation, to use your imagination. We have to make it rise to the brain in a natural and rhythmic way, using the vocalization of the mantra that I explained before without forgetting the synchronization of the inhalations and exhalations in perfect concentration, harmony, and rhythm. It's very important to clarify that inhalation should be more profound than exhalation, because that way we make the creative energy flow from outside in. With this practice, there is a time when all the creative energy will flow from outside inward and then upward. The creative energy directed each time from outside inward, deeper and deeper, becomes as an extraordinary tool for the essence to awaken our consciousness. I am teaching you the legitimate way of white tantra. This is the practice used in tantric schools of the Himalayas and Hindustan. This is the way to ecstasy and samadhi, or whatever you wish to call it. And during this practice, you should keep your eyes closed without thinking of anything. Unfortunately, some desires may hit the mind, and we should study them without identifying with them. But after these desires have been understood fully in their aspects, then we're able to disintegrate and destroy them using the spear of Eros. But if suddenly we remember something that happened to us that brings us rage, what can we do? Let us study the situation carefully in every detail and disintegrate with its bistoury or surgical knife of self-criticism, and then forget it and continue our meditation and breathing. I know Eckhart Tolle talks about the same thing, to just observe it and then let it go. Observe it, study it, and let it go. And if suddenly it comes to our mind the memory of a past event of our life that happened 10 or 20 years ago, use the same self-criticism and the same bistoury to disintegrate such a memory, to discover what the truth is to be found there. Pick it apart, I guess, with a knife and find the truth of it. Continue the meditation and respiration without thinking while chanting the mantra hum. So you inhale hum and exhale sa. Lengthening the inhalation with ham or ham, it's spelled like ham, and shortening the exhalation with sa, S-A-H. Repeat the mantra. Remaining completely calm of the mind. Only in that way will the essence be able to escape for a moment in order to submerge herself in reality. A lot has been said here about illuminating the void. We will, of course, be able to experience it. And in this emptiness, we will discover the laws of nature. We can see these laws not in the way we normally see them, but the way that they really are. And in this physical world, we can see figures from outside, but can we see them as they really are within, or from the sides, etc.? In the illuminating void, we can know the truth as it really is, and not the way it appears to us. We can experience the truth of an ant, a world, a sun, a comet, etc. The essence submerged in the illuminating void perceives with its spatial sense everything that was, is, and will be. Her radiations will reach the personality and the mind, and it is interesting to know that while the essence is submerged in the illuminating void, it experiences reality. The emotional and motor centers will integrate with the intellectual center, and the receptive mind will capture the information received by the essence. For that reason, the information is accumulated in the intellectual center, thus we do not lose it when the essence comes out of the illuminating void and penetrates the personality. It has been said that to obtain emptiness, we need a suction pump. We have that pump in the spine, in the channels, Ida and Pingala, used by the creative energy to reach the brain. Also, it has been said that we need a dynamo. We have one in our brain and willpower. So it's obvious that we also need a generator. Fortunately, this is the procreative organs, the sexual organs, the willpower. Having the systems and elements, we can reach the luminous emptiness. The pump, the dynamo, and the generator are the elements we need to reach the illuminating void in our meditations. And only through the illuminating void can we know reality. But it is necessary that the essence penetrates the absolute emptiness. In the old text, they talk a lot about the holy Okinodak, the omnipresent, the omnipenetrating, and the omniscience. He comes from the sacred absolute Son. So how can we know truly the holy if we cannot penetrate the luminous emptiness? It is well known that the holy is within the illuminating void. It is one with the great emptiness. You know what this makes me think of? It makes me think of, well, I got to get a drink here. It makes me think of that, the book of Isaiah, where he says, I will give you treasures in dark places and hidden riches. I mean, you don't hear that in church a lot. It's not really an orthodox thing to talk about, I guess. When you are in ecstasy, you surpass personality. When you are inside the luminous void and experience the reality of the holy Okinadok, Okinadok, I don't know how to say it, but whatever he calls it. You're one with the leaves, the water. You're one with everything. You live everything that exists. And the only thing you need is courage so you do not lose the ecstasy. Because when one feels that one is deluded in everything and feels that one is everything one experiences, then you will experience the fear of annihilation. And we talked about this before. If you really do get to this place in your tantric practice, you will get to this place where you will be one with everything, and then you will experience this sudden fear of annihilation. One thinks, where am I? Why am I everywhere? Reasoning comes and one can lose the ecstasy, returning to the trap again, enclosed again by the personality. But if you have courage, do not lose this ecstasy. And at this moment, one is like a drop that is submerged in the ocean. But one has to realize that the ocean is submerged in the drop as well. And you will feel that you are a bird flying in a deep forest, or a petal of a flower, or the children who play with a butterfly, an elephant, etc. And this situation brings terror, and you can fail in your meditation if you're not careful. That is, if you reach this point. It is indeed in the sacred absolute sun where one comes to know the final truth. In the sacred absolute sun, there is no time. There, the time factor has no existence. There, the universe is all one, and the phenomena of nature takes place beyond time. In the sacred absolute sun, we can live in an instant eternity. There, one lives beyond good and evil, transformed into radiant creatures. Therefore, once one has experienced truth, he cannot be like those whose lives are based on creed. No, there, one experiences the urgent necessity of working in the innermost self-realization of one's being here and now. It is one thing to experience or to truly live the illuminating void, and another is to achieve the innermost self-realization. Because of this, we need to know how to meditate, to learn to meditate. It's urgent to understand meditation. I hope that you understand this, that you will practice meditation so one day you'll be able to liberate the essence and experience the truth yourselves. The one who is able to liberate the essence and to enter the illuminating void will be distinct. He will no longer be like the others. For this, you need a special course. Such persons will be different, ready to fight up to the maximum, with their only purpose being to realize here and now the illuminating void within. In the Orient, when a disciple reaches these marvelous experiences by experiencing the truth and comes to tell his guru, the guru strikes him hard with his hands, and it is clear that if the disciple has not ordered his mind, then he will react against the guru, will he not? However, these disciples, they're already trained, so gurus do this to equilibrate the values and to test the disciple to see how he is progressing in the elimination of his defects. I hope that all of you have understood deeply what the science of meditation really is, and I hope that you will practice intensively in your homes and in your place of meditation. And so he has this thing here where he has like people asking him questions, and they actually call him master. Remember, they believe he is like the angel Samael. And they say, Master, how can we control the fear when we feel it, when we are in the illuminating void? Samael Umvior says, it is necessary to fight fear, forcing it to disintegration until it is converted to cosmic dust. For that reason, we have given you specific techniques for disintegrating your defects using the spear and with the help of your Divine Mother. Of this, we have spoken amply in the book, The Mysteries of the Golden Blossom. Oof. Okay. I'm about to pop here in a second. I'm just gonna play one track and then and then we'll be right back because we still got a little bit of time left tonight. But I've got to run real quick. You know what I'm talking about? This is some interesting stuff, though, man. Like this is, I'm smelling what Samael's stepping in. I get it, and I've never look. It's been so long that I've read this. I didn't plan this or anything, but there's so many weird synchronicities. That's why I find it fascinating. It's not that I believe all this stuff that he's saying. It's just the synchronicities, the correspondences to other teachers and other things that I've experienced are just pretty profound. And it is funny that the show is called Lighting the Void, and in this chapter, he's specifically talking about illuminating the void in meditation. What does that mean? I don't know. No idea. Probably don't mean nothing. All right. Be right back. Be right back. Blah, blah, blah. Nobody can hear you when you're on mute, right? All right, so welcome back to Lighting the Void Radio here live on the Fringe FM on TalkStream Live. Tune in the Paranormal Radio app and at fringe.fm and also live on YouTube too. I got a little radio set up with some graphics. You got to do YouTube nowadays, man. Like everybody's on it. It's completely taken over. People are so worried about AI, they need to be worried about the power of YouTube because it's like zombified us all. Hey, look, no judgment. I'm on it 24/7 myself. Also, if you want to support the broadcast, you can join the Patreon. You can support. You can donate. You can also grab anything from the shop. There's links there at fringe.fm too. You can grab a T-shirt. I know someone said they like the artwork, so you can help support by grabbing any of the stuff from the store as well. And if there's something that you'd like to see in the store, let me know. I'll put it in there for sure. All right, let's get on with it. Let's finish out this night. Dream interpretation. This is a good one. What does Samael Unvior say about dream interpretation? I wonder. I'm sure it's going to be pretty eccentric. So, dreams are visions, and they occur during our sleep, or hypnos in Greek. The mythological speaking is derived from the Greek god Hypnos, the god of sleep. And this is the source of the word hypnosis. Yet the Greek god of dreams is Morpheus. The Greeks represented him in a sleeping posture. Sleep has two aspects. First, a process in which all the organs and parts of the physical body rest, and second, when all the subconscious faculties are working while the physical body is resting, which is the process of dreaming. The dream world is very complex and difficult to understand, and this is because our psychological state is lamentable. And during sleep, all of our subconscious, unconscious, and infraconscious processes are active. So, entering to the realm of dreams without awakened consciousness is like entering to a dark cave without light. You must know that the best way to interpret the language of dreams is by exclusively working with the inner process of the awakening of the consciousness. The three aspects to awaken the consciousness are, number one, as we spoke about earlier, to die in ourselves, eliminating all the negativity that we are carrying inside, our vices, defects, errors, egos, sins, etc. Number two, birth, transmuting the sexual energy and creating energy bodies or inner bodies. And this process is alchemical and must be performed between a man and a woman with the assistance of the Divine Mother. This is the tantric practice too. And number three, sacrifice for humanity, helping and assisting our brothers and sisters on the path, raising the torch of understanding to illuminate the path for others. We have to understand that the subjective reasoning of the mind doesn't let us see the world of dreams clearly. We must use the faculties of the heart, or our intuition, instead of the mind. And as the Egyptians stated, when it's not illuminated, the mind is the destroyer of our reality. Our mind has to be simple, humble, and full of respect. The mind is like a wild horse, and we have to learn how to control it with the whip of willpower. No one can enter into higher initiations with the mind. Only the heart can lead us to higher levels, because the heart has a wonderful power if we develop it wisely. Intuition can open the entrance so that we can enter consciously into the world of Morpheus. And intuition is the faculty that can be developed through different practices. Using the following practice to develop intuition, you can lie down on a bed in a comfortable position and relax all the muscles of your body. Concentrate and focus all the attention on your heart, imagining that from it a very bright sun and a radiating light is sending love to all beings while pronouncing the mantra Onro, O-N-R-O. And I'm sure you're going to roll that R and elongate both O's. And when pronouncing this mantra, we must put our imagination and concentration in the heart with each letter. The chakra of the heart, the Anahata, might be seen as a bright sun spinning the same way the needles of the clock rotate, clockwise, as if we were seeing the clock in front of us. Do this practice at least 1 hour a day, and it will develop intuition. And this way, the student will be able to interpret the meaning of his dreams. It's that simple. Can you do this an hour a day? There are emotional, sexual, intellectual, motor, and instinctive dreams. The most important dreams are called visions. These are direct one-rick experiences in the world of dreams with the superior centers of your being. And these dreams are associated with the superior emotional and superior intellectual centers, and some of them are conscious experiences. And I'm going to pull up that picture again so you can see that where he puts those there. So it'd be the top of the blue and the top of the yellow. So some of them are conscious experiences, and these two superior centers, the superior emotional and superior intellectual, when acting, creates a kind of spark with a cosmic vibration with the intention of healing us or warning us as well of any danger or showing us our psychological states or even prophesizing our future, etc. Now let's talk about the types of dreams, according to Samael. There are the associations, and these are dreams in which we experience has an affinity or a correspondence to something psychologically similar. For example, in a dream, seeing oneself in a desert is psychologically associated with loneliness. Seeing a bull is interpreted as either a dangerous friend in the physical plane or our psychological capital sin of anger, etc. We also see opposite analogies. We have opposite analogy dreams. Many dreams are interpreted based on the opposite meaning. For example, candies are interpreted as bitterness, crying as happiness, and vice versa. We also have prophetic or predictive dreams, and during conscious astral travel, we can be taken to the future to see things or actions or projects of process that will take place at some undetermined time. And these kinds of dreams can also be given based on opposite analogies, numerology, association, etc. Any prophecy or announcement can especially occur on Wednesday between 9 p.m. and 3 a.m. He's putting a specific date. So right now, I would say, at least on my time, why wouldn't Samael put like Central Standard Time or, something like that? So we know. I guess it doesn't matter. Now, there are rules for dream interpretation. Number 1, see and analyze the psychological impression that the dream has caused. If the dream impresses us a lot, it means that we saw, or what we saw, will affect us and our beloved ones in a determined way. But if the dream doesn't impress us a lot, this means that whatever will happen, positive or negative, will not affect us. However, if we are indifferent to that dream, then it will not affect us. Number 2, the time and date when the dream situations will take place physically. If a person dreamed that he saw an animal, the time or date for that dream experience will take place physically, and we will know it. If we calculate the time of birth of this animal starting with the conception. Another example, if we dreamed of a plant, we calculate the time according to the time that the seed takes to grow. But if the person dreams of an object or element where the time is difficult to calculate, it means that such a dreamed situation, if it is a prophecy, will take place in no or any undetermined time. And number 3, the colors and sounds that are in a dream. White and sky blue and all light colors alongside peaceful and enjoyable sounds are of very favorable meaning. The color and sounds totally change the prediction or prophecy. And note this too, the only one who can interpret dreams in the exact way are those who have awakened consciousness and are masters of the White Lodge, those who have eliminated the ego or the defects or vices or the eyes in them. The reader of this must not fall into errors by judging a person because of their dreams or because of anything else. We are all asleep, and we are asleep and do not have the light to understand the meaning of dreams. No one can judge another for their own interpretation. The only one who can judge is the being. The student must work hard and eliminate the ego, transmute the sexual energy, and sacrifice for humanity. Plato said, "A man is known by his dreams." Let me see this next one because I got 12 minutes here. Yeah, we got it. We got it. All right, let me take down this. So this chapter is called Astral Projection. It's funny too, how all this stuff is interpreted. All right. It's important for you to comprehend the necessity of learning how to leave the physical body at will. I want you to understand that the physical body is a house within which we must not be prisoners. It is indispensable to enter into the region of the dead at will, to visit the celestial regions, to know other worlds of the infinite space. And outside the physical body, one can give to himself the luxury of invoking beloved relatives who have already passed through the doors of death. They will concur to our call. Then we can personally chat with them. Necromantic magicians exist who know how to invoke the deceased ones in order to make them visible and tangible in the physical world. Man, wouldn't that be some shit? If there was such a thing as necromantic magicians. We watched that movie Sunday night called, I think it's called Color Out of Space with Nicolas Cage. And the girl's doing a ritual at the beginning of the movie. And she has the Necronomicon book in her hand, and it just starts a shitstorm. But wouldn't that be scary? That would be scary, wouldn't it? A little bit, I think. Necromantic magicians exist who know how to invoke deceased ones in order to make them visible and tangible in the physical world. Nonetheless, we prefer to penetrate within the region where they live and to visit them in order to know how their situation is. When we are, quote, out of the physical body, we can acquire complete knowledge about the mysteries of death and life. And out of the physical body, we can invoke the angels in order to talk personally with them face to face. It's good for you to understand that we had other bodies in the past. We had other existences. When we are out of the physical body, we can remember those existences. We can revive them with complete exactitude. The clue, in order to go out of this dense form, out of the carnal body, so to speak, is really simple. Listen, in those instances of transition that exist between physical and dream, one can escape from the body of flesh and bones at will. A very special case comes into my memory in these moments. Some time ago, I arrived to a town and looked for a hotel, but all the hotels were full. There were no accommodations for anyone. And nonetheless, I obtained accommodation within a hall for guests. There were many beds where the guests were sleeping, and I paid for the last one of those beds that was vacant. I fell asleep on it. However, it so happens that at about midnight, a man knocked at the door of that house asking for accommodation. The owner of that business took him to our hall and told him, "I do not have beds. Look, all of them are occupied." The guest complained and said, "There is no accommodation in any place, thus I'm determined just to sleep in the hallway, even though I will do it on the floor. Please place on the floor for me a floor mat, rug, or carpet, and a pillow for my head because I'm very tired." The lady, the owner of that guest house, was touched and joyfully consented to what the man asked, and I was awake, seeing and hearing everything. Then the sighted guest laid down on the floor, and he intended to fall asleep. I observed details while the man was in his physical state. He calls it the vigil state. He moved from one side to the other as if he wanted to accommodate himself to the hard floor. And then suddenly, he became still, and I saw with astonishment a void grayish cloud that was leaving through the pores of his skin around his body. The cloud floated for a few instants over the tired body and finally placed itself in a vertical position. It took the figure of that pilgrim. He fixedly stared at me, and thereafter he walked normally and left the hall. Come on, Samael. I can't see shit like that. Not while I'm awake. Behold, my friend. Well, I don't know, man. I'll talk about that later. I've seen stuff out of the corner of my eye that looked like people walking, for sure. But it's only like a flash, like in the corner of my eye. People, behold, my friends, that always happens while in the state of transition, not while awake, but in the state of transition between physical and dream. The pilgrim simply withdrew from his dense form. All of you do the same thing, but in an unconscious way. I do not want to tell you this, that the gentleman from this story had performed a conscious astral projection, but nonetheless, the same action can be performed positively and consciously by will. Indeed, this is a natural process, and therefore, to become aware of our own natural processes can never be dangerous. To consciously perform all of our functions instead of performing them unconsciously and unwillingly is in no way dangerous. Therefore, I put certain emphasis on the necessity of taking advantage of the instant of transition between sleep and awake. And in order to abandon the body of flesh and bones, thus entering into the region of the mysteries. Incredulous people exist who say, "What can you know about that which is beyond? What can you know about that which is from the heavens above? Have you perhaps gone into the other worlds and come back again, etc.?" But dear friends, I assure you that with this procedure, you can go into the other world and return from it. I can swear to you, by what I love the most in life, that I got into the other world each time that it pleases me, and that you can go as well. What's important for you is to not be afraid. When I want to depart from the physical body at will, I take advantage of that instant in which I am slumbering, falling asleep. In that moment in which one is neither completely awake nor completely asleep. Thus, in that precise moment, I perform what the pilgrim of my story performed. I get up very softly, feeling myself as if I were vaporous, fluidic, gaseous, and then I leave my room, as that mentioned guest from the guest house did, and I direct myself towards the street. Space is infinite. Thus, flying, I can go to any place of the earth or of the infinite, and you can do the same. The whole matter rests on only your will to do it. First of all, you must not identify with the material body. In that precious moment of executing the experiment, you must think that you are not the body. You must comprehend that you are more than your physical body. You must feel yourselves as being a fluid, subtle soul, and thereafter feeling thus in that state, simply get up from your bed. What I am stating must be translated as facts. Listen to me very well. It is not a matter of thinking that you are getting up from your bed. Otherwise, you will remain there thinking that you will not perform this experiment. I repeat, what I am emphasizing must be translated into facts. You must perform exactly what the pilgrim of my story performed. He did not position himself to think that he was going to depart from his body. He just did it. He simply got up from the hard floor where he was lying down. And I repeat with complete clarity, he got up being subtle, vaporous. Thus, like that, he departed from that place. Makes no sense sometimes, doesn't it? Because people, no, you're trying too hard. Just do it. Oh, well, it's like that surfing instructor in that movie, Forgetting Sarah Marshall. Well, now you're just laying there. You're not doing anything. What the hell do you want me to do? When are you going to understand me, and which epoch of the history of your lives are you going to learn to depart from your physical body at will? Do you want to know something from beyond? Do you want to what is he saying? Like his English. Oh, chat. Sorry. Do you want to chat with divine beings face to face? Then when you are out of your physical body, invoke them, call them with shouts. It's getting late. It's clear that they will concur because of their love towards you with purpose of instructing you. The whole matter that is needed is to abandon laziness and to pay attention to the process of dreaming, because the blankets, bedclothes, or sheets with which you're covered become very pleasant, and it's very difficult to leave the indolence or the slothfulness state. And remember that willpower is indispensable. Thus, if you exert your will in order to depart from your body, you will achieve it if you follow my instructions with exactitude. And all of the sages of the past abandoned the dense form in order to consciously and positively travel in infinite space. Then they spoke with the holy gods, thus they received marvelous instruction. And we can experience in a direct way all the mysteries of life and death when we are outside of this world. Now you comprehend why I put so much emphasis on the necessity of learning how to depart from the physical body at will. So here's a little Q&A he's doing with his students. Master Samael, Is it necessary to have some previous learning in order to depart from the body, or do some exist who know how to do it from birth? I have heard many people say, I know how to travel in the astral world. Would you explain this, if this is the same? And Samael answers, My respectful lady, your question is certainly very suitable. In the name of truth, I have to tell you that nobody had to teach me how to do it myself, because I was born with this faculty. This is why I know the mysteries of life and death. Now, you can explain to yourself where I get all of the knowledge that I have written in my books. Nonetheless, in my case, is not an exception. My wife also knows how to depart from her body at will, and we astral travel together. We visit the temples of the mysteries. We help many people from remote places. We investigate mysteries. We talk with gods, the angels, and with the ineffable divas. And thus, when we return to our physical bodies, we bring the same memories. And this is similar to when two persons leave their homes in order to have some recreation on a Sunday. And then they return and talk about the distinct occurrences of their journey. There exist many people in distinct parts of the planet Earth who know how to depart from the physical body at will. Therefore, it's necessary that you also learn how to do it in order for you to know the great mysteries of nature and the cosmos, and in order to know what is beyond death. Question. Master, you tell us that in order to project oneself into the astral plane, one has to take advantage of that given moment when one is between vigil and dream. Can we not make it in other moments? And Samael answers, Dear young lady, I want you to know that when one is very skillful in this matter of astral projection, you can escape from the physical body at will, even if your carnal body is seated or if you're standing even. However, I repeat, the latter is only for very practical, skillful people. What is normal and natural is to lie down on the bed in order to astral project oneself. Question, can we invoke any special master so that he can help us in our astral projection attempt? Friend, allow me to tell you that invisible beings who can help us do exist. Nonetheless, you can ask for help from your own particular divine mother. I am referring to your mother as Mother Nature, because it is obvious that each one has their own. You must beseech her in the name of Christ so that she can take you out of your body in the precise instant in which you are in the state of transition between vigil and dream. Master, does any special prayer exist in order to call that Mother Nature? If there is, can you teach it to us? I'm going to give you advice which can assist anybody in the world. You must lay down on your bed, facing upwards, with your body very well relaxed. That's important too. And become sleepy while reciting with your thought and with your heart the following prayer. I believe in God. I believe in the Divine Mother. And I believe in white magic. Mother of mine, take me out of my body. You must recite this magical prayer with full devotion and with intense faith. Become sleepy, and if it's necessary, you must pray it millions of times, however many times it takes. However, remember that saying which states, strike with thy rod while thou art begging God. I don't know what that means, but cool. So when you feel yourself in that state of lassitude, which is proper to sleep, when in your mind the first images of dreaming just start to appear and you can see the dream coming, then please, I beg you, defeat your laziness and feeling yourself like a delicate and subtle phantom, perform what the pilgrim of our story did in the hall of that guest house. That is, get up from your bed and leave your home. Understood? And the last question is, can we ask our particular Mother Nature to take us to a determined place? Or does she take us where we must go in accordance with our preparation? This is a good question. Our Divine Mother knows the place where she can take each one of us. Nonetheless, we can also ask her to take us to any given place. And if she wants to do it, then very well. Nevertheless, if she does not want to take us where we want, but instead she transports us to another place, then we must take that place with gladness. Take her decision, because it's clear that our Mother knows what we need, that which is most convenient to us. And We're almost there, so we're gonna have to do a part 3. There's only one. There's only a couple chapters. I think there's one chapter left, maybe. Damn it. Just one? No, there's more. There's more. There's more. So we'll do a part 3, and then we'll have that discussion next week. But it's really interesting, like looking into all of these different places of people that talk about astral travel, whether it be the super scientific minded people or the spiritual people or the Gnostics or the magicians. I like to look for all of the same kind of stuff that they're talking about. But I didn't know that there was necromantic magicians out there that actually existed that can bring the dead into physical form. Damn, I hope that's not true. That's kind of eerie. I'm sure some of you think that would be cool, though, don't you? I bet you do. All right, we're out of here. Thank you guys for listening on the radio station. I see all of you. Love you. Matter of fact, I used to give you a shout out, but it started freaking you out, right? Like, because I started naming the cities where you were at. But it doesn't like show your house. It's like a dot in your general area. But it's really cool to see you guys listening on the station again. And then I'll be back for sure next Wednesday. I know we got to keep going through the tarot series too, for those of you guys that are interested in that. That's a big series, because once we get done with all the main arcana cards, then we're going to go through the elemental cards, the court cards. We'll talk about the whole thing, that whole system, which is pretty rad, honestly. Fine, let me see what else I can do here. What about this one? All right, no, y'all. Sweet dreams. Take care of yourselves and take care of each other.